Hi, Brett here, and this video comes to you from an eco-resort that I'm staying at in Malaysia. This particular video is Tensegrity Series Level 2. So if you're fairly new to the Tensegrity series, or if you don't have a lot of time, or if you simply want a slightly shorter version of the full Tensegrity series, this one would be a good one for you. What you'll need, as with the beginner series, is a block or a hard-covered book like this, a couple of dowel rods. One is approximately 40 centimeters and the other one approximately 55, and a blanket or a large towel. So remember, as with the first video on the beginner sequence, we're working with the sense of ease here, so don't try to force anything, don't try to go too far with any of the movements. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And so be honest with yourself in terms of how far you can go, and are you really staying within that realm of ease, or do you feel like you're pushing? You'll probably find this whole practice will be more effective if you can stay within the realm of ease. And I want to give a special thanks to Gioia Irwin, who was the person who developed this series, and with her kind permission, I'm offering this video to you today. So let's begin. Lie onto your back and take your block or book underneath the blanket so that it fits under the pelvis. If you have a pair of the toe separators, known as Gioia toes, you can do the practice with those. Big toes together, heels slightly apart and inner knees close together. And then as you take the legs away from you, the arms go in the opposite direction. And gather the elbows slightly as you move the arms back. Let the elbows move out slightly as you bring the arms forward. The back of the body is a bit like the underneath of a canoe here, so there's a sense of spreading and lengthening. You don't need to take the legs very far. Remember, staying within the realm of ease. Less is more. And just let the breath be completely relaxed into the belly. No need to synchronize your breath with the movement. Breathe less. And then bend both knees, hands onto the knees, making circles with the hips. So the knees move forward, away, around, and together to create a circle. You don't need to keep the feet together. Freeing up any tension in the hips. Change direction of the circles. And then place both feet onto the floor, lift up the hips, remove the block from under the pelvis, and take the short pole behind the knees, the long pole between the palms of the hands, and making a twist, so knees and arms are going in opposite directions, like you drawing a figure of 8 with your knees and with your arms. The pole between the hands is staying at right angles to your chest, and if possible the knees are together. That may not happen right away. It can take some time before the knees are able to stay together. And the movement is initiated from the belly. And then remove the pole from behind the knees. Take both legs up into the air. Same thing, this time with the legs up, so drawing a figure of 8 with the feet and taking the pole in opposite directions to the legs. And then bend both knees. Take the hands behind the head. Extend the left leg out in front of you. Point the foot down, lift the toes up. Bring the foot back, flex the toes. Foot down, lift the toes. Foot back, flex. One more time, foot down, lift the toes. Foot back, flex. Other side, extend the foot down, lift the toes up. Foot back, flex. The knees not completely straight here. Foot down, lift the toes. Foot back, flex. One more time. Foot down, lift the toes. Foot back, flex. Rest the head down. Fingers go under the ribs now, pressing up into the diaphragm. Keep the pelvis, ribs and head heavy. And just lightly swing your left leg up and down. Eyes open for 2 swings and closed for 2 swings. Staying within the realm of ease, as we said before. And then switch sides. So place the left foot down and swing the right leg up and down. Eyes open for 2 swings and closed for 2 swings. Pelvis, ribs and head heavy. Turning onto your left side, support your head with your left hand, bend your right knee behind, lift the lower leg diagonally toward the opposite shoulder. This time the eyes can look up and slightly to the left. So it's a diagonal movement of the lower leg toward the opposite shoulder. You can lean back slightly. So these movements work with some of the fascial meridians in the body, and it's not just a muscular movement, it's more of an unraveling of some of our stiff and thickened parts in the body. Bend both knees, feet together, rest your head down. Keep your pelvis still, lift just the top knee. As the knee lifts, bring the arm forward. As the knee lowers, take the arm back. Then rest the little toe of the bottom foot down. Lift the top leg so the kneecap is facing toward your head. And again, you don't need to keep the knee straight here. You'll find it's more effective in releasing tightness in your hip if you can keep that knee a little unlocked. Then bend the right knee, rest the head down, hold the foot, heel toward the outside of the buttock, line up the knee and the hip, and slightly move the tailbone forward as you lengthen out the front thigh on that right leg. Take a small breath into the belly. Straighten both legs down, right arm up into the air. Making a small circle with the right arm. It's like the pestle and mortar is the shoulder girdle, so the arm moving in the shoulder socket. Change direction of your circles. Again, staying within the realm of ease, so not too big a circle. Undoing any kinks you might have in the shoulder. Nice. Turning onto your right side. Support your head with your right arm. Bend your left knee behind and lift the lower leg diagonally toward the opposite shoulder. Eyes can look up and to the right slightly here. And again, it's a diagonal lift of the lower leg. You can lean back ever so slightly. Keep the breath moving into the belly. Bend both knees. Rest the head down. Lifting and lowering the top knee without moving the pelvis. So as the knee lifts, the arm comes forward. As the knee lowers, the arm goes back. Rest the lower leg down, little toe of the lower leg. Lift the top leg, kneecap facing toward your head, thigh rotated outwardly. And again, you're freeing up any tension in the hips here. So try to keep that knee from locking, especially on the way down, because sometimes if you have tightness in the hips, the knee wants to lock for some reason. Rest the head down, bend the left knee, take the heel toward the outside of the buttock, lining up the knee and the hip, tailbone slightly forward, front ribs in, and take a small breath into the belly. Straighten both legs down. Feet together, knees slightly apart. Rotating that left arm in the shoulder socket. Again, remember, not too big a circle. Keep the circle small. Change direction of the circles. And then coming back from there. Coming back onto your back now. Slide the block, take the short pole behind the knees. Hands behind the head. We're going to do a few mini roll-ups. So it's like the tailbone is slightly lifting as the head is lifting. Almost like you're elongating your spine from both ends. Keep the breath moving into the belly. Try to keep the knees close together if possible. Big toes together, heels slightly apart. A little bit of flex into the toes, as you can perhaps see in the video. And then Remove the pole from behind the knees. Hands behind the head. Same thing with the legs more straight this time. So again, lengthening the back of the spine with a little lift of the tailbone and a little lengthening of the neck. As the legs come toward you, you bring the chin in. As the legs move away, let the head drop back into the hands, but without the head moving back to the floor. If you're a bit more tight in the legs, then do less. Rest the feet down, rest the head down. Now take the block under the pelvis. Take both legs up into the air. Big toes together, heels slightly apart. Bring the hands overhead so that the thumbs are touching the floor as well as the fingers. And then keeping the pelvis heavy and the upper back and ribs heavy, head heavy, we're going to scissor the legs back and forth so the inner knee lightly brushes past the other one. Try to keep a feeling of heaviness in the ribs, almost as if you have a sandbag across the ribs, to keep that part of the body heavy. Then release the arms, same arm and leg, left arm with left leg, right arm with right leg. The eyes can be glancing left and right each time the arm comes up. Then pause and opposite arm and leg, left arm with right leg, right arm with left leg. And this time, if you're able to coordinate all of this, let your head turn each time the arm comes up, which just helps to free up any tension in the neck. Bend both knees, rub the hands together, place the palms of the hands over the eyes and just let the eyes rest for a moment. Then extend one leg at a time out in front of you at about a 45-degree angle. Again, keeping heavy in the pelvis, heavy in the ribs. Let the head rest down. Lean the elbows slightly in toward each other. And then keep both knees bent. Lean the pelvis onto the right side slightly. And legs apart and together, like a butterfly kind of action. And then lean the pelvis onto the left side slightly. Again, keep the lower and upper leg together by slightly squeezing the toes and feeling a bit like you have a rod behind your knees. Come back to center, hands behind the head. Same thing. This time in the center, knees move apart, and it's a little bit like you're gripping a pencil behind the toes and something behind the knees to keep the lower and upper leg glued together. This also helps to strengthen some of the muscles around the knees. Rest the head down, fingers under the ribs, bending and straightening the knees. So as you bend the knees, let the thighs drop slightly toward the ribs. And you're pressing up with your fingers into the diaphragm. Bend both knees, place the feet onto the floor, remove the block from under the pelvis. Take the short pole behind the knees again, long pole between the palms, and twisting for the second time. Again, you're drawing a figure of 8 with the knees and with the arms. Let your head turn with the legs if possible. Again, your movement begins from the belly. Try to keep the knees together as much as possible. And then remove the poles from behind the knees. If you're a bit stiff in the back of the legs, you can put the block back in for this movement. This is a double wing exercise, so as you move, arms and legs are moving together. And again, don't try to go too far. This is not about stretching. It's simply about creating ease, remembering ease in the joints, in the shoulders, in the hips. And then opposite arm and leg. Again, be heavy in the pelvis, be heavy in the ribs, be heavy in the head. Then take the hands behind the head and let the knees bend this time as you release them. So again, it's like you're lengthening the spine from either end. Bend both knees. We'll just do one release for the back body before we move into the next movement. So holding your right knee, extend your left leg down, keep it just above the floor, lift your head to your knee, press the knee forward and lean back a little to release the back body. Inhale into the belly. Release the hands, bring the knee to the chest. Inhale again. And lie back. Hold the left knee, extend the right leg down. Keep the right heel just above the floor. Lift your head to your knee. Press the knee away from you. Lean back slightly. Inhale into the belly. Release the knee. Bring the knee to the chest. Inhale again. And hold both knees. Taking both legs up into the air. Let the legs bring you up to sitting. And release the head for a moment. Lean back slightly. And you don't need to lift the legs much here. You can lift them just a little or a little further, wherever is comfortable for you. Then roll back over the pelvis, bring the front ribs back. Inhale. Come up from there. One more time, release the head down. Lean the front ribs back a little. Be relaxed in the arms. Let the elbows be heavy. Lift the legs just as far as is comfortable for you. Roll the pelvis back, bring the front ribs in. Inhale. Come back up. Come up onto your hands and knees. And find the right distance so that you can bring your pelvis forward and look up. Then from that position, take the sit bones back toward the heels, release the head, inhale. As you begin to exhale, bring the pelvis forward and only lift the head once your pelvis is all the way through. Again, bring the front ribs back, sit bones toward the heels, inhale. And exhale, bring the pelvis forward. One more time, sit bones toward heels, inhale. Exhale, come forward, pelvis comes all the way through, and only lift the head once you're through. Sit back toward the heels, take the knees slightly apart, rest the head down, take the arms back. Take a couple of breaths into the belly. And that completes our practice for today. Thank you very much. Namaste.